praises to the Most High, brothers and sisters. I am your host, the Apostle Reuben of IUPR Bible Radio, podcasting out of Little Rock, Arkansas, to the saints of the Most High. Well, brothers and sisters, as always, I want to wish you a happy Sabbath day to the law keeper, striving to keep the law, striving to become perfect and without offense to the day of the Lord. Well, brothers and sisters, as you can see, I'm at Revelation 7 and 9. Now, the Christians, they go here. And when they go here, it's to prove a point. And we get the point, but and I'm going to focus on two verses out of Revelation 7, and that's Revelation 7 and 9 and Revelation 7, verse 14. I'm going to try to get some meat out of both of those verses, because those are the verses that the Christians continue to flash and put their hope in. Now, brothers and sisters, it is not right for the will of man to be forced upon you. I mean his thoughts. Because this verse here could be one of the verses that they use, I would call it forced indoctrination on people, different ethnicities of people. Forced upon them to believe, to keep an agenda going that they have going right now in the world. Because religion is that religion, brothers and sisters, it has to be pure, as mentioned in James 1:27. But I'm not going to rant any longer. I'm just going to show you, brothers and sisters, that the Christians leave out a whole lot, when it comes to these verses. They want you to think, oh, Revelation 7 and 9, John caught the vision of all nations. No, brothers and sisters, there are things that led up to it. So let us jump right in, because I have an hour here. Revelation 7 and 9. After this, I beheld, and I'm going to say this before I begin to go deep into the reading. Either we're lying or someone lied when it comes to the scriptures. I'm going to say that again. Either we're lying as the true Hebrews teaching the Bible, or someone lied. Revelation 7 and 9. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds, and people and tongues, stood before the throne, and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes, and palms in their hands. The Sunday Christians, see, look at that. The Bible literally says that all nations will stand before God. That's what they say. But let's go back. Let's look at this. They will not go here. Now, and it's about putting it together. It's about putting it together, brothers and sisters. The Christians, they throw you a verse and then throw another verse a mile away. You'll never be able to put it together. But we're bringing the verses closer together to give you an understanding here. We bring these verses they throw far away together. Revelation 5 and 8. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayer of the saints. See, which are the prayers of the saints. Not all. See, all nations' prayer isn't going to God. Just the saints. Well, let's be real quick about it. Psalms 50, verse 5. Let's look at the saints real quick. Let's keep our eyes on the saints. And there is no other way to be a saint, brother. So you can't be no spiritual saint. They're lying. They're trying to cut the ethnicity out of the Bible. They're trying to cut the true people out by bringing in ideas that they can't prove. Psalms 50:5. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. The only one that had the covenant of sacrifice were the 12 tribes of Israel. No other nation. The Christians can't prove that. They can't. They will not be able to read you a verse out of the Bible for at face value like you're getting it now. They're not going to be able to do it. There'll be some twist they do, some running, some talking. He also exalted the horn of his people, his people, his people. The praise of all his saints, even the children of Israel. The children of Israel by ethnicity are saints, not no spiritual Israel. The saints are the children of Israel. What we need you preachers to do is when one of your members hear our doctrine is to prove to them that all nations were saints. They can't do that. Not going to happen. He also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even the children of Israel. That's who the saints are. The one that made a covenant with him by sacrifice in Psalms 50:5. A people near unto him, praise ye the Lord. So the saints are the children of Israel. All right, let's go back to Hosea. Let's look at Hosea 11. Hosea 11, verse 12. Ephraim compasseth me about with lies. This is the northern kingdom. You Christians are in format to this, what we teach. You're familiar with what we teach. Ephraim compasseth me about with lies. So the northern kingdom compasseth God with lies, idolatry, and the house of Israel, northern kingdom, with deceit. But Judah yet ruleth with God, and is faithful with his saints. See, the saints are the people of Israel. Nowhere you can go, brothers and sisters. The saints are the children of Israel. Let's go back to Revelation, because I got a lot to cover. Revelation. I'm kind of going slow here, but I need to speed things up because I have a lot to cover. But Revelation 5, I'm just going to read verse 8 and 9, but I'm going to read verse 8 again. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and 4 and 20 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints, the children of Israel. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hath redeemed us to God by thy blood out. The us is the saints. They that sung the new song are the children of Israel, the saints. And God redeemed the saints, the children of Israel, by the blood, by thy blood, out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. That says different in Revelation 7 and 9. But I'm going to show you that Revelation 5 and 9 and Revelation 7 and 9 saying the same thing. I'm going to show you. Because it was the events leading up to it. The Christians leave off the events leading up to Revelation 7 and 9. They're in the text. They're in the text. So let's look at this. Revelation 5 and 9, you can see. They, the saints, sung a new song. I'm going back over it again. saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain. That was Christ. And has redeemed us, the us are the saints, to God by thy blood, out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. Putting this together. So let's go look at the events in between. Isaiah 66 in verse 15. Now, this is the second coming. This is the second coming of Christ we're about to read about. The end. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. Verse 16. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh. So by sword, he's going to plead with all flesh. Watch what happens. And the slain of the Lord shall be many. Many people are going to die. All are going to get saved. No, the book says many people are going to die. Sunday church, you're not going to get this in Sunday church because who's going to get paid tithes teaching this? All right. Let's go to another record. Another record of this event. Jeremiah 25. And I'm going to read verses 30 to 32. Therefore prophesy thou against them all these words, and say unto them, The Lord shall roar from on high, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. He shall mightily roar upon his habitation. He shall give a shout, as they that tread the grapes, against all the inhabitants of the earth. Now, it says, he shall give a shout. He shall give a shout. Let's look at this real quick. 1 Thessalonians 4. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout. Now, Paul, again, I've gone over this. Paul is telling the Jews in Thessalonica, Acts 17, verse 1 and 2. His brethren, the Lord is going to descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel. That's the shout. With the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Now, this is one end, but let's go back. That's one side of it. But let's see, this tells you, brothers and sisters, all nations are not going to be saved. Showing you. See, this shout is what Paul mentioned, but Paul didn't mention the disaster on the other side of the wall. No, but Jeremiah will. And see, this is why they don't want to read the Old Testament. Let's go back to Jeremiah 25. Verse 30. Therefore prophesy thou against them all these words, and say unto them, The Lord shall roar from on high, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. He shall mightily roar upon his habitation, and he shall give a shout, voice of an archangel, as they that tread the grapes, against all the inhabitants of the earth. Now, verse 31. A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth, for the Lord has a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked, those that are in sin, to the sword, saith the Lord. Those that are in sin, to the sword. Proverbs. Again, we got to look at this, brothers and sisters. We have to look at this. Those that are wicked, Proverbs 10:16. See? Them that are wicked to the sword, Proverbs 10:16. The labor of the righteous, which is the lawkeeper, tendeth to life. The fruit of the wicked to sin. The fruit of the wicked to sin. You see that, brothers and sisters? So the wicked are sinners. Proverbs 29:16. When the wicked are multiplied, transgression of the law, which is sin, increaseth. But the righteous shall see their fall. And we're reading about the fall now of the transgressors of the law. Those that take the Bible and lie with it, they're lying. Let's go back to Jeremiah 25. Get verse, again, 31. A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth, for the Lord hath a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked, the sinners, to the sword, saith the Lord. You Sunday Christians, I don't care how much you smile, I don't care how much you do. If you're not keeping God's laws, you're wicked. That's what the book says. 32. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation, and a great whirlwind shall be raised from the ends, raised up from the coast of the earth, And the slain of the Lord shall be at that day from one end of the earth even to the other end of the earth. Death. They shall not be lamented, nor gathered, nor buried. They shall be dung, which is fecal matter, upon the ground. See, Revelation 7 and 9, you could put it on the wall and say, see, look at that. Or you can go through the steps it takes to get to Revelation 7 and 9. And it isn't pretty, brothers and sisters. It is not pretty. That's why they don't teach it. Let's go back to Isaiah. '66. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. Now we got an idea. Going back to Jeremiah 25:33. By the death. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens, behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh. See that tree in the midst? We're going to go into that. There's a nation. That's a nation. I'm going to give you an example. A tree in the midst. Watch this. Daniel 4. Verse 10. Thus were the visions of mine head in my bed. I saw and behold a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. Now, see, he's talking about a tree, but what you're going to understand, brothers and sisters, now we ain't got time to go into it, but what you're going to understand, this tree was talking about a power, rulership, Babylon. That's what this tree was talking about. Let's go back to Isaiah. Isaiah 66, verse 17. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens, behind one tree in the midst, one tree, one kingdom, eating swine's flesh here, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord God. Consumed, there's death. The Bible keeps talking about death. So this is the second coming. See, these things are leading up to Revelation. What you see in Revelation 7 and 9, the events lead up to it. And it does not look like all nations are going to be saved. But let's look at the 18th verse. Now here is where I want you to pay attention, brothers and sisters. Isaiah 66 verse 18. For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues. You see that? And they shall come and see my glory. The same thing that's mentioned in Revelation 7 and 9. All nations, right? Now, after the destruction, you're seeing the gathering of all the nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. I want you to remember, brothers and sisters, I'm not taking anything from this verse. What you see in this verse is what you see. I acknowledge that all nations will be gathered, as the book says. But watch this. Let me read it one more time. Let's go to verse 19. For I know their works and their thoughts, and it shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. Verse 19. And I will set a sign among them. The among them are all nations. The among them are all nations. And I will send those that escape of them, which will be all nations, unto the nations. Wait a minute. How could God send all nations to the nations? It's not trivia, brothers and sisters. I'm not reading it messed up. And I will set a sign among them. The them is all the nations. I'm doing this slow for a reason. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations. So he's going to send them that escape of all the nations to nations. The events leading up to Revelation 7 and 9. Watch this. To Tarshish, Pool, Lud, that draw the bow. To Tubal and Yavin, Japheth's children. To the isles afar off, all these little islands out here with these people on it. With these bows, y'all seen it. That have not heard of my fame. They haven't even heard of the Bible. They haven't even heard of Christ. They haven't even heard of the Father. They haven't even heard of the Word at all. Neither have they seen my glory. And they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. Now, wait a minute now. Y'all see how this is written? What's wrong with Isaiah? Can he not write? No, he can. He can. He said a mouthful in this verse. All he needed. Verse 19. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations. That escape. Isaiah. Let's look at who's going to escape. Now let's go to Isaiah 4. Verse 2. In that day shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel. The only ones that, see, I'm going to read you three of these. I'm going to read you three of these. I might read you four. So I want to read you the one Christ spoke of. So we've just read, see, as this verse says, key on it, escaped of Israel. Them that escaped unto the nations. Israel. Watch this. Get the proof. Christians are not going to do this. They're not going to go into the detail. Who wants to wake somebody up out of sleep? We do. Isaiah 10 and 20. And it shall come to pass in that day, and that day again, same thing it said in Isaiah chapter 4, verse 2. That day, when that day comes, that the remnant of Israel, such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, shall no more again stay upon him that smote him. That's our oppressor. But shall stay upon the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, in truth and the law. Psalms 119, verse 142, Psalms 119, verse 151, Malachi 2 and 7. The truth is in the law, Romans 2 and 20. All day, brothers and sisters, we will finally get to be with Christ and keep the law. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty God. Let's go. Isaiah 45. Watch this. Verse 17. I want to do this real quick. I might end up skipping down because I really got to go. Isaiah 45, verse 17. But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed, nor confounded, world without end. Now, I'm just going to read it. For thus saith the Lord, that created the heavens, God himself that formed the earth and made it. He hath established it and created it, not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord, and there is none else. Watch this. I have not spoken in secret, and in a dark place of the earth. I said not unto the seed of Jacob, seek ye me in vain. I didn't tell you to seek me against the law. I never told you to speak or seek me against the law or in sin. I, the Lord, speak righteousness. I declare things that are right. Verse 20. Assemble yourselves. He's talking to Israel. Come, draw near together, ye that are escaped of the nations. The only ones that are escaped. When that's to let you know that all the nations, we're not talking about all nations. We're talking about Israel. The people from all the nations were Israel coming out of the nations. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you with proof. It's not about hatred, brothers and sisters. This is what the Christian church wants to avoid, the detail. Assemble yourselves and come, draw near together, ye that are escaped of the nations. Talking to Israel here. They have no knowledge. They set up wood of their graven image and pray unto a God that cannot save. Like these images they have up. Even one they would call themselves the white Christ. He's an image. It's the graven image of a man themselves. Let's go to, that's why Christ said this, Luke 21. Verse 35. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the whole face of the earth, or the face of the whole earth. That's a snare. Watch this. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape. You worthy to escape all these things. Well, we just read about in Isaiah 66 and Jeremiah 25. That shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. That's why Christ said that. That escape is what we've been reading about. And all nations are not going to escape. Israel was prophesied to escape. So Christ is talking about them. Now the Christian may say, well, that's just horrible. Well, okay. Somebody lied to you. Either we're lying or... Sometimes you have to be a man and be a woman and stand up to those that are lying to you. If we're lying to you, oh well. We're reading scripture. Let's go back to Isaiah 66. Verse 19. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, to Pool, to Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal, to Javan, or Yavon, however you do it, to the isles afar off, that have not heard of my fame, neither have seen my glory. They don't even know of God. In case you didn't get it before, brothers and sisters, when I read it, these are Japheth's children on these islands out here. This lets you know that when they come up with that crap about, the Caucasian man is Japheth. Well, he got some lost people out here then in the Isles. All that's out there is these dark natives. And they shall declare that they are those that escape, shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. You see some of the children of Japheth there, don't you? This is in the second coming. Second coming. But watch this. And they shall bring all your brethren. Not all nations are coming. They shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out. Out. Pause it right there. Let's go to Revelation. See, John didn't have to do all this. All he needed in his letters was to expound upon the vision. But it's up to you and I to read the steps in between it. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints, the children of Israel. The children of Israel. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain. Christ, this is what it's talking about. And has redeemed us to God by thy blood. Us is the saints, the children of Israel. By thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. When did that happen? Let's go back to it. How did he do it? See, this is what they avoid in the Christian church. Isaiah 66 and verse 20. This is that redemption. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations upon horses and in chariots and in litters and upon mules. This is the redemption by the blood. Christ is on earth. And all of our lost brethren among all nations will be brought to us. We demand them, give them to us, and we're taking them back to Jerusalem. It's not about all nations. And they shall bring all your brethren. This is those that escape. Israel. Over and over. You won't find a scripture that says all nations escape are going to escape. No prophecy, nothing. The escape was the house of Israel. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations. That's the deliverance by the blood. Upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, saith the Lord. As the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel unto the house of the Lord. These are the events leading up to Revelation 7 and 9. It's just not poof and it happens. No. Verse 21. And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, saith the Lord. Them are the same ones that escaped of all nations, kindreds, and tongues. And those that of the children of Israel are brought out of all nations. Now, brothers and sisters, if you choose, because let me not. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to add that. I'm just going to keep going. So we see the events leading up to Revelation 7 and 9. We see them leading up to it. Now let's go back. I want to do this real quick. I want to do this. And after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes, and palms in their hands. Now I want to do this real quick because I got to drop down to verse 14. I spent too much. Because you really have to slow it down. So I spent a lot of time on verse 9. But of all nations, kindreds, and people and tongues stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. You see the vision of Isaiah 66, verse 18, the same thing. White robes. Let's go back. Revelation 3. I just want to touch on that real quick. White robes. Now, this really takes the Christian out. If you are a Sunday Christian, this takes you out. Thou hast few names, even in Sardis, which have not defiled their garments. And they shall walk with me in white, for they are worthy. Defile their garments. Let's go back. To Jude 1, verse 23. And others save with fear. What is fear? How can we save with fear? Fear of what? The Christians don't tell you have nothing to fear. Just believe on Christ and everything is okay. But Jude says save with fear. Let's get Acts. I'm thinking it's here. Acts 9 and verse 31. Then had the churches rest throughout all Judea and Galilee and Samaria, and were edified. They were teaching the law and walking in the fear of the Lord. So they were walking in the fear of the Lord. They were walking in the fear of the Lord. And in the comfort of the Holy Ghost. So walking in the fear, they get the Holy Ghost. Were multiplied. So walking in the fear. Walking in the fear. They were walking. Walking is action in the fear of the Lord. Praise ye the Lord. Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delighteth greatly in his commandments, that feareth the Lord. See, when you fear the Lord, you keep the law. There's no other fear. There's no fears. Fear in God means to keep the commandments. When they were walking in the fear, they were keeping the law. Of course, brothers and sisters, let's keep these Christians, they don't know what the fear of the Lord is. They're not going to teach it to you, you pastors. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Okay, let's go back to Jude. The whole duty of man. That's what man was created for. Jude. Verse 23. Others save with fear. The fear is in keeping the law. Pulling them out of the fire. The destruction. We've been reading about it. Hating. We're hating even the garment spotted by the flesh. The flesh is sin. So sin stains your garment. Sin stains your garment. It is no longer white. People think they're just going to get a white robe from Christ. Oh, we're in white. No. No, brothers and sisters. No. If you have not rid yourself of sin, your garment will still be spotted, which makes it defiled. That's why. Psalms 119. Blessed are the undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of the Lord. So the undefiled are those that walk in the law. The undefiled are the sinless. We're the ones that keep the law. Now, of course, we may fall to an occasional sin of ignorance or however it gets. But we pick ourselves back up again, like it says in Proverbs 24:16. Revelation 3:4. Thou hast a few names, even in Sardis, which have not defiled their garments. Why? Because they kept the law. There was no sin. There was no stain on their garments. And they shall walk with me in white. That is how. It's not that God's going to come slap a white robe on you. No, you sin not. Your garment stays white, and that's how you walk with him in white. You pastors in these Christian churches, you teaching your people God is just going to give it to you. That's a lie. You're lying. You're liars. No. When you keep the law, you're undefiled. If you're in sin, you defile your garments, spotted by the flesh. Jude 1:23. And they shall walk with me in white, getting that, cleansing your robe by stopping sin is how you make it white. For they are worthy. He that overcometh, the same shall be clothed in white raiment. And I will not blot his name out of the book of life, but I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. Now, the book of life. Book. I will not blot his name out of the book. I got to do it. Daniel 12. You Christians got to realize that if we use the whole Bible, all nations are not in the book of life. It's not. It never were. It was only given to the children of Israel. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even that same time, at that same time, or to that same time, I mean. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in a book. Thy people, who is Daniel's people? The Christians try to move past it, make excuses that scares them. But look. And whilst I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel. Daniel's people, thy people of Daniel was Israel. And presenting my supplication before the Lord my God for the holy mountain of my God. For the holy mountain. The holy mountain is the kingdom. Let's go back to Revelation. Revelation 3. Get back into this. Let's get back into it. Revelations 3. He that overcometh, the same shall be clothed in white raiment, and I will not blot, out his name out of the book of life. I will not blot his name out of the book of life, but I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. Overcometh. We know, according to the Bible, 1 John 5, verse 4. For whosoever is born of God overcometh the world. This is the only way you're going to overcome the world. He that is born of God overcometh the world. And this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith. Whosoever is born of God. Stumble there for a second. We know that whosoever is born of God sinneth not. Brothers and sisters, if you're born of God, you do not transgress his laws. That's why we know that the Christian church, the Sunday Christian church, are just brick buildings on the corner. We can see that. They're just brick buildings on the corner. If you're born of him, you keep the law. You sinneth not. You don't transgress the law. But he that is begotten of God keepeth himself. And that the wicked one, which is the sinner, toucheth him not. Because he is touching millions out here. He sure is touching millions, brothers and sisters. But not you and I, because we know that to be born of God is to keep the law. To overcome is to keep the law. There's no stain on that garment then. And we're going to be walking with Christ in white, those that are in the book, which is proven to be Israel. Now let's look at this. Go back to Revelation 7 and 9. One more piece of information out of here, then I'm going to move on. Now, watch how it's read now. Now that you've seen what leads up to it. And after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of that shouldn't be there, of. Because of can also mean among. Just letting you know. Of all nations, kindred, and people and tongues stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes and palms in their hands. Let's go to Revelation 19. Let's get some more on this. Revelation 19 is often skipped by the Christian. We're going to start in verse 6. And I heard, as it were, the voice of a great multitude, and as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of mighty thunderings, saying, Hallelujah, for the Lord God omnipotent reigneth. Let us be glad and rejoice, and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. Wow. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. For the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. The great multitude that was in verse 6 was the saints, just like it said in Revelation 5, verse 8 and 9. Those saints were taken from all nations. They were taken from all nations. Revelations 5 and 9. Isaiah 66 and 20. Redeemed. I showed you the redemption. And to her, that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. The righteousness of the saints is the righteousness that is in the law. And they're like, oh, it's the righteousness of faith. No. Brothers and sisters, that's why there's an unrighteousness. All unrighteousness is sin. 1 John 5:19. That's the Christian. You guys are in unrighteousness because you're sinning. You're breaking the law. The saints here are they that were the great multitude. Same great multitude mentioned in Revelation 7 and 9. But there's a little bit more detail from John. John can't say it's all nations, one verse, and then this verse say it's just the saints. No, he just can't do that. Revelation 7 and 9 was misread by the church. Let's go back. It was misread. We're going to read it one more time, and we're going to go back to a couple of scriptures. And I didn't even get to verse 14. I'll get to it in another podcast episode. It was too much detail in verse 9. After this, I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, same one that we read about in Revelations 19 and 8, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes that you had to get in being born again and sinning not and overcoming. Not going to get it, just get it. There was something you had to do for those white robes. And palms in their hands. Now, it says, of all nations. Let's go back to Isaiah 66:18. I want you to see this real quick. It's going to be written in the same format as John wrote it. Same thing. For I know their thoughts and I know their works, and their thoughts. And it shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them, all nations, unto the nations. See, the all nations were Israel. See, people don't realize how the Bible is written to support itself. You can't just exegete a verse. You have to have support. All nations is mentioned in 66 verse 18. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them, which is all the nations, unto the nations, which means all nations are not going. They're not going to be delivered. This is how the Bible is written, but the preachers, the Sunday preachers, the theologians, I would say, they read it a certain way and believe it a certain way. Watch this. I'm going to show you that all the nations again. Jeremiah 3, verse 17 and 18. I'm going to read it. At that time they shall call Jerusalem the throne of the Lord, and all the nations shall be gathered unto it. Gathered, all the nations, to the name of the Lord, to Jerusalem. Neither shall they walk any more after the imagination of their evil heart. In those days, the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel. That's the all nations. And they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given them for an inheritance unto your fathers. Brothers and sisters, you can't skip the totality of the Bible for an exegesis. Can't do it. You can't. The all nations in verse 17, God identified in verse 18. Like Isaiah identified in Isaiah 66, verse 18, 19, and then 20 and 21. Says all nations there too. But when you get to the meat of it, those nations were talking about Israel. They were clothed in those white robes because they overcame by keeping law. Their garments weren't defiled, and sin defiles the garments. Just let you know that the Christian church are just quoting that verse. They'll never explain that verse to you. They're just quoting it. Those that were in Revelation, and then you had the witness in Revelation 19, verse 8. The saints, the great multitude. John repeated it. So you Christians that try to break down Revelation 7 and 9, don't leave out the events that it takes to get there. Because you want to paint a picture to your members. Teach it all. But you can't do that, can you? Can't do that, can you? Those that were standing in great multitude was the whole house of Israel, from all nations, kindreds, and tongues. All praises to the Most High, brothers and sisters. I am your host, the Apostle Reuben of IUPR Bible Radio. And brothers and sisters, it's hard, and it doesn't sadden me, brothers and sisters. It doesn't sadden me because when you're lied to, that's how it is. You're lied to. We need all these scriptures, brothers and sisters, before we make an assessment. But the Christian church doesn't think so. They think that one half of the book should be gone. And we just need to trust in what this side say. No. If you're a real follower of Christ, as it says in Matthew 13, verse 52, let's go there. And that's my last verse. I want to end, but I want to go to Matthew because Matthew 13. I seek for everyone to be in the kingdom that keeps the law. Then said he unto them, therefore every scribe which is instructed unto the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is an householder, which bringeth forth out of his treasures things new and old. And of course, in Matthew 12:35, those treasures were in your mind, the treasure of his heart. What this verse is saying is, Christ is saying, which bringeth forth out of his treasure things new and old. Got to have both testaments, brothers and sisters. You just can't have one without the other. The old pinpoints what the new is talking about. And you can see it right here, because when you see the events leading up to Revelation 7 and 9, it doesn't look like the Christians make it look. Now you can understand with precepts what's really going on. So all praises to the Most High, brothers and sisters. Until the next Sabbath, where we'll get more spiritual healing and understanding. Because I love it, brothers and sisters. I hope you do too. Until the next Sabbath, all praises. This is your host, the Apostle Reuben of IUPR Bible Radio. Brothers and sisters, as Paul did in Acts 26, verse 7, our mission is to gather together the 12 tribes of Israel back unto Christ. So join us as we go through the scripture. All praises.